This is Charter Local Edition. My name is Brad Pomerantz, and we are joined today by Kevin Wattier. He is the general manager of the Long Beach Water Department. That last name is just perfect. When you think about your profession, you must be very proud of Long Beach. As you know, the state set certain targets for conservation. And Long Beach had a pretty low target, relatively speaking, 16%, when some had 36%. Right. But over the last few months, Long Beach residents have cut their water use by 19-20%.
Yeah, we did 20% in May, 19 in June, and July we're right around that same level.
What went right?
Well, I think California finally gets the drought. You know, I'm seeing a lot of numbers come in, and everybody's doing a great job. I think finally, with the state board and the governor requiring this, I think people finally are getting very, very serious about this, because I'm seeing good numbers come in from all over the state. So I think California finally gets this issue and is really taking it seriously.
But how are people cutting their water usage in Long Beach, for example, a major city in this state, by 1/5? I mean, that's a significant amount of water.
Well,
what are they doing?
I think most of it's outside. I mean, we've put in 2-day-week watering. Most others have put in 2-day-week watering. And when you do the math, you know, 50% of your water or more is outside. So if you cut back from 3 or 4 days a week to 2 days a week, I mean, that's how you get to those kind of reductions. And so I think we're seeing a high degree of compliance now with the 2-day-a-week watering. Really.
Let me ask you about revenue, though, because the blessing and the curse of water reduction is that less water is being used, but that means you're not charging as much, or you're not receiving as much money because they're not using as much product. And so how do you balance your books when less money is coming in? Because as I understand it, delivery costs really don't change.
Well, but we're typical. We get about 60% of our water from the local groundwater basin, and then we buy 40% from the Metropolitan Water District.
Sure.
And that's our most expensive supply. It's about 2.5 times as expensive as the groundwater. So when we see this kind of a reduction, we don't buy the water from MWD. It's still a little bit of a financial issue, but it's not that significant because we're not buying that MWD water and reselling it. And we make a little bit of a quote-unquote profit on the MWD water, but not much. So it's not a big financial issue.
Let me ask you about MWD, which is the major purveyor in this region. MWD has a very aggressive rebate program.
Yes.
They upped it to, I mean, it seems like almost $500 million for 2015. I assume Long Beach is participating in that program. Is that accurate?
Well, they ran out of money. They spent all the money last week, and they shut their turf replacement program completely down.
And let's talk about that, because that is stunning on so many different levels. On the one hand, it's incredibly gratifying to think that so many folks are willing to step up to the plate.
Right.
But what does it tell you that they started the program, I think, at $100 million. They added another $350 million. And that went away within weeks or months. What does that tell you?
Well, again, I think it tells you people get the drought, that they get it and they're anxious to do something. And you know, that was a very good incentive they had. And so they've stopped it. We're continuing at a lower level, but we're continuing with our turf replacement program.
Right. So tell us about that. So, because I think, as I understand it, MWD had was it $2 per square foot, and then some
$2, yeah.
Did you match at $150?
We matched $150, so it was $350 total, and then they've eliminated the $2 now. So we've stepped up. We're adding more, so that it's $250 total now. So we lost the $2 from Met, so we replaced $1 of it, because we look at turf replacement not as even though, you know, obviously people are excited about it now. We look at it not as a short-term drought response. We look at it as a long-term culture change that all of California, including Long Beach, needs to do.
Let me ask you, I'm going to get a little parochial on you. I recently put out a bid for turf replacement.
Right.
It's still expensive.
It is.
It is.
Yeah,
to
do it right.
5 figures.
To do it right, we generally say it's $5 to $10 a square foot. That's why we don't think it makes any sense to be at like 50 cents or $1, because then what you really get is people that were going to do it anyway, and they say, well, as long as I'm going to do it, I'll go ahead and fill out this form and get $500 or $1,000.
Right.
We look at this as an incentive to get people to do something they otherwise wouldn't have done.
But what I'm wondering, if I may, is that what we've seen is that many commercial interests have taken advantage of the program. God bless them for doing that.
Right.
And so what's happening is that there are limits being placed on the amount of rebate you can get.
Right.
But that seems counterintuitive, because you want the larger plots to replace their turf. And if you're only allowing them to get rebates on a certain swath, then the incentive might vanish a
Well,
bit.
we in Long Beach see it differently than that. We see that this is only about culture change. And the culture we're looking to change is not the culture of someone that's got a big factory or a big golf course. The culture we're looking to change is the culture of the people that live in their homes in Long Beach.
So
that's who we're targeting.
Right, but still, I mean, even then, there is a square foot limit. And if you have a decent sized lot, you're often at that limit with half your property.
Well, again, we'll only do the front yard because we don't want to be trying to figure out what's going on in people's private backyards. So we'll only do the front yard. We won't do the backyard because it could potentially be a gift of public funds that we give them money. You know, someone does it and they decide they don't like the artificial turf or whatever and they tear it up. So we'll only do the front yard.
Because you can track it in the front yard? Is that what the feeling is?
If need be, we could go by, and we've had a couple places. We've had a program for over 5 years. Now we've had 1 or 2 cases where they tore it out and we required them to give us pro rata our money back. Yes. So we want to be able to go look at it, and in Long Beach it's a 5-year commitment that when you do it, you'll leave it that way for 5 years.
Let me ask you about other scofflaws, if I may. There have been some, not a lot. As you said, I think very succinctly, California is stepping up to the plate.
Right.
But there are some entities that are not abiding by the law.
Yes.
We heard about the famous case, I think it was Ventura County, with Tom Selleck.
Right.
I don't want to jump on him. Who knows what really happened? But there are other instances. One that got a lot of play here in Southern California was a local McDonald's.
Right, here in Long Beach.
Again, this is a single McDonald's store. I don't want to bash the entire corporation, but talk to us about what happened to the local McDonald's. And really, I ask you not so much to shame them, but to show how you were able to work with an entity and the result wound up being positive.
Exactly. Again, you know, we've collected over 16,000 complaints in the last 5 years. So we know who we're getting a lot of complaints about, and we know who's using a lot of water compared to their peers. And so we've selectively started to put very high tech meters on those customers.
I see.
And we put one on the McDonald's, and we've put about 30 or 40 on other customers now who we've gotten a lot of complaints about. And we've had tremendous results. We've found leaks that have just been going on and on for months.
And presumably, with regard to leaks, they didn't know.
They didn't know, and they were paying the bill. It's just unbelievable.
But overwatering is a different story.
And what these smart meters do, because they collect the consumption every 5 minutes, we can specifically, very clearly see when the sprinklers are running, because your irrigation peak is very unique. And so we put a smart meter on the McDonald's. We watched it for a couple weeks. We saw that they were irrigating 3 or 4 or 5 nights a week, twice each night.
Twice?
And we watched it for a couple weeks, and then we went out there and we videoed it, and we fined them $800. And I'm very pleased that they've taken ownership and they've completely turned it around, and it's just a tremendous job that they've done of straightening it out. But that's the kind of action we had to get to,
I'm wondering, though, if we need more fines to be levied. I know that may not be a popular position, but at a certain level, are we at a point where we can't, make nice and send them a little
Well, that's
letter?
our perspective, because we think, again, at least 98% of our customers in Long Beach, we've never gotten a complaint about.
Right.
And so we don't think it's okay for the other 1 or 2% to just flagrantly continue to violate.
Because there are some jurisdictions that are issuing fines very aggressively. I think Fresno is known as
Fresno
one
is,
that is being very aggressive. Is it time for a city like Long Beach to become more aggressive, or the facts aren't there and you don't have a lot of scuffles out there?
Well, I think we are being aggressive with the smart meters, and we've issued 3 fines to 3 different customers. We've issued several other notices. It's a 2-step process, and if they don't change their behavior, we'll be issuing additional fines.
And are they changing behavior? I mean, that's really the key.
They really are.
$800.
And everybody's different. Everybody's different. Some people, when we put the smart meter in, they change their behavior. Some of them, we have to get up to the point where we got to McDonald's before they change their behavior. So, but yes, absolutely. These people that we're putting the smart meters on, they are changing their behavior at some point in the process.
Okay, his name is Kevin Wattier. He is the general manager of the Long Beach Water Department. My name is Brad Pomerantz, and you are watching Charter Local Edition.